Welcome back everyone to another episode of Shinkara. Well, the time has finally come. This is the review everyone's been waiting for, Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. In preparation for this video, I've imported the Japanese version and put in well over 50 hours into the game, as well as played various English demos at E3 and through the PlayStation Network. To say the least, I'm well prepared to give you an intensely in-depth review of this fantastic JRPG. I will preface this video by saying that the majority of the footage you're about to see is from the Japanese version. However, know that I've had help translating the game every step of the way and fully understand the plot and the game's various mechanics. For those not familiar with the game, allow me to explain. Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch is a video game collaboration between famed Japanese game developer Level-5 and world-renowned animation house Studio Ghibli. Level-5 is most famous for games like Dark Cloud, Dragon Quest VIII, and the Professor Layton series, with Studio Ghibli known for films such as Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, and Ponyo. What makes this collaboration special is that Studio Ghibli has never really stepped foot in the realm of video games before. With Ni no Kuni, they've not only inspired the art style for the game, but also contributed a number of gorgeous animated cutscenes. With all the hype and delays leading up to Ni no Kuni's release, is this the JRPG masterpiece everyone's hoping it could be? Let's take a trip to another world and find out. Ni no Kuni begins in the fictional American city of Motorville, where we meet the game's protagonist, a young boy named Oliver. He's a well-mannered, respectful, and polite boy who usually does what his mother asks. Without giving too much of the plot away, tragedy strikes Oliver, leaving him despondent. Amidst his despair, Oliver's stream of tears magically brings his doll to life. This creature reveals himself to be Mr. Drippy, Lord of the Fairies from another world. After hearing Oliver's plight, Mr. Drippy reveals that people in Oliver's world have soulmates in this other world. For example, a merchant's daughter in Mr. Drippy's world could be a neighbor in Oliver's. Mr. Drippy tells Oliver that if he follows him to this other world, there may be a chance of solving Oliver's problem. Facing no other choice, Oliver follows Mr. Drippy to a magical world and the true adventure begins. Personally, I really enjoyed the story Ni no Kuni had to tell. I feel like the game was trying to tell a tale about a young boy that gamers of all ages could enjoy and relate to, not to mention one that could easily work as a Ghibli film. In both regards, I feel like Ni no Kuni completely succeeds. Through the ups and downs of the story, you see the characters' qualities consistently shine through in believable ways. Oliver seems to always do the right thing, while Mr. Drippy always has something a bit eccentric to say.
He's got more get up and go than a sack of squirrels. If he hasn't got some enthusiasm to spare, I'm a monkey's uncle.
This all of course plays out in a charming and whimsical world that has been painstakingly crafted to reflect the signature Studio Ghibli art style. While Ni no Kuni's story is aimed at younger children, it's definitely a game that can be enjoyed by anyone, especially those that would consider themselves young at heart.
Such a well-mannered child. Unlike some I could mention.
The gameplay of Ni no Kuni is very much that of a classic PlayStation 1 Japanese RPG. You'll travel to different towns through a massive world map and various dungeons. There are focus objectives and destinations through the game, as indicated by a golden star on your mini-map, but you're never restricted to follow that path. Very early on in the game, you're free to explore the world and take on side quests through a jobs board system that rewards you with helpful items and abilities. Most quests in the game have you solving people's emotional problems, such as providing motivation to a lazy king. This is accomplished by finding other inhabitants in Ni no Kuni that have an abundance of a certain trait and sharing it with those that need it. It sounds a bit strange, but it all makes sense in the context of the game. Ni no Kuni definitely mixes it up though with quests like finding a king's lost fish or restoring a forest's dried up creek. The world of Ni no Kuni isn't all sunshine and rainbows though, as it's filled with fantastical creatures to battle. Outside of scripted boss fights, you're able to see your enemies in the environment before engaging them, much like in Chrono Cross. At any one time, you can hold a party of up to 3 characters who can carry up to 3 creatures each called familiars. The characters themselves can battle on their own with spells and attacks, but you're better off commanding your various familiars. Battles play out in enclosed areas in real time that you're able to freely move around in. Each character and familiar has special abilities they use that you can command. You're able to switch between any character or familiar on the fly, which allows for a great deal of freedom. At various points in battles, blue and green orbs drop that will restore a small amount of magic and health points respectively. Normal battles can be dealt with rather easily, but boss fights require a bit more strategy. Each boss typically has a few special attacks that you'll need to defend at the appropriate time in order to avoid big damage. Each of your familiars also have a stamina meter that slowly depletes throughout the battle that you'll need to keep an eye on. If the meter exhausts, you'll start taking damage and need to switch in a different familiar. Through the game, you're able to recruit a multitude of new familiars to help you fight in battles. The familiars can be outfitted with different equipment, abilities, and even evolved into stronger ones. This will no doubt resonate with the many Pokemon enthusiasts out there. If you are a fan of games like Pokemon, Ni no Kuni will absolutely scratch that itch with well over 100 familiars in the game to collect. Exploring this incredible world to find these familiars is made all the more easy with transportation options like a ship that travels the ocean, a dragon that can fly you just about anywhere, and a teleportation spell that can take you anywhere you've previously been. Now, I know a lot of people were concerned that Ni no Kuni would be gorgeous to look at, but not fun to play. Allow me to put that worry to rest and tell you that Ni no Kuni is an absolute blast to play. The battle system is super refreshing with its real-time combat and multitude of familiars to battle with. Each new area continually surprised me with interesting quests to complete. And if this still isn't enough, there's even a ghostly casino that houses a number of fun mini-games that you can play for special items. There's also something strangely satisfying about helping someone find the motivation they need to do something like, open a gate?
I'm sorry, I wasn't myself. But I'm back now, and ready to work harder than ever.
This engaging gameplay and heartwarming story is of course set across the backdrop to Ni no Kuni's main attraction, its breathtaking presentation. I've played a lot of games that use cel shading and unique art styles, but I've never seen a game as beautiful as Ni no Kuni. It's one thing to watch gameplay in a video like this, but it's something else entirely to see it running in person on your own TV. The first time I booted up the game, I kid you not, I teared up. Not because there was anything particularly sad going on, yet, but because I was just in awe at how gorgeous Ni no Kuni was. You can have fun playing through the game normally, but to truly appreciate what it has to offer, I implore you, take some time to admire the details throughout. My personal favorite area in the game is the first place you visit in Mr. Drippy's world, Ding Dong Dell. I love it not only because the color palette is so enjoyable to take in, but because of the incredible detail. Ding Dong Dell is ruled by a king who happens to be a cat, so naturally the town has a heavy fish motif. There's mosaic cobblestone adorned in front of a fish fountain, artwork on the walls all across town, and a plethora of structures that incorporate fish in some way. This isn't the only area that's like this either. Every single town has this level of detail. I won't show you too many others because I feel like one of the best parts about Ni no Kuni is exploring each new area you arrive at. The voice acting in the game is also impeccable. The reason for the exorbitant delay was to ensure the English dub was done well, and I would say from what I've heard so far, they nailed it. Oliver is convincingly innocent while still remaining likable, with Mr. Drippy dropping some of the best lines you're likely to hear in a game all year. Ni no Kuni's music is also absolute magic, with Joe Hisaishi writing the score, who has composed the music for the vast majority of Studio Ghibli films. The main theme is incredibly enchanting, with different variations of it appearing throughout the game to match the mood perfectly. If you're a fan of video game music, I highly recommend picking up this soundtrack. I promise that you'll love it. Joe Hisaishi himself even said that the score was very easy to compose and hopes to have a concert tour of the soundtrack at some point in the future.
Neo!
When you break it all down, Ni no Kuni doesn't necessarily do anything groundbreaking, but much like past Level-5 RPGs, the game is refined and polished like few other games are. I've played a lot of JRPGs over the years, and I don't put this lightly when I say that Ni no Kuni is perfect. There's just no other way to say it. The visual style is incredibly appealing, the story keeps you wanting more, the gameplay is fun and engaging, and there's enough content to keep you playing for well over 80 hours. I really don't know what else you could ask of a video game. I also feel like I'm not alone in saying I've been waiting for a game like Ni no Kuni this entire console generation. Games like Xenoblade, Tales of Grace's F, and Final Fantasy XIII were fine enough games, but Ni no Kuni truly is the pinnacle of JRPGs in the HD era. 2013 is certainly loaded with incredible titles, but the first must-own game has definitely arrived. Hopefully you saved your Christmas money because now is the time to spend it. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Shinkara. I truly hope you've enjoyed this journey to another world, and that you have fun on your own adventures in it. Thanks once again for watching everyone, and we'll see you next time.